This is a place.
This is the place.
This is a place. We want to talk about. This is a place.
Thank you for listening to This is a Place podcast. My name is Brandon, and I'm joined with a man who is trying to be better about what he eats and plans on eating more whole foods. Nate.
Do donuts count as a whole food since they have holes in them?
That's the only one I really know of. Donuts, Swiss cheese.
So I'm very successful so far at eating more whole foods.
That's almost the only thing I eat.
That and a seafood diet.
How are you doing?
I'm tired. I keep thinking I'm still in my 20s and I can play multiple sports in one day and get up the next day and do the same thing again and have the same amount of energy that I did in my 20s. But
well, you don't have a lot of options when you have this kind of a seafood or whole food diet, so.
yeah. But this morning we were having a conversation at pickleball again, lo and behold, but people were asking how old I was. And they were kind of shocked to find out how old I was, and I had to let them know that I'm very immature for my age.
Hence why we get along so well.
Because I'm very immature for my age.
Very immature.
Very
there we
immature. Go. But yeah, smoke went away for a couple days, and it looks like it's on its way back. So it was kind of nice a couple days ago to be able to get up in the morning and actually see the mountains outside, but
we will keep it brief because we want to just get to the interview we had with someone like us, also on a donut diet, but is able to balance it out maybe a little bit better than we have. And so he provides some good tips that you can hear in the episode as well, how you can have your cake and eat it too. Or have your donut and eat it too.
Have your cake, donut.
So we had the opportunity to speak with Donut Critic, is his name on Instagram, and he shares with us his love of donuts and other foods, as well as some exciting things to come. Someday with our podcast, we'll get to be super. No.
That's the goal, right? That's the goal.
Sure.
Well, it's the same thing with like my donuts. A lot of people are asking me, "Oh, what are you gonna do with it? Oh man, like this is gonna go big." And it's like, I eat donuts, and I just like, Instagram about them or talk about them. I don't think that this is like I'm gonna be rich type of thing. This is like a passion project more than anything else.
Yeah, an excuse to go eat donuts, right?
Exactly. A good excuse. Definitely a good excuse. I've told people all the time, if you want to have a lot of fun and dive into one of your hobbies, start an Instagram account, start a podcast, and then just start talking about it. And then once you start talking about it, like you find out this person likes it. And so you make a friend here, and then you start going to all the different shops or places, and it just builds into something that you never knew existed.
Yep. 100% agree.
Well, tell us how did you get started in it? What was your motivation and how that all got going?
That's the funny thing. So I had started a few blogs that were just like random bits of information or kind of trying to be funny blogs, and people kept labeling them as just like clickbait, even though I was just trying to like be funny on certain things. And I was like, okay, I don't want to just, I didn't want to feel like I was a troll. And so I thought, okay, what could I do that's positive and that's something I could write about every day or post pictures about every day? And it was donuts. I decided that I wanted to do donuts. And so I just started curating posts on Instagram where I would take everybody else's delicious pics of donuts and just talk about them. And then I started thinking, well, I can do that. I can go out and I can take my own pictures and I can go and travel and, search out all these donut shops. And it just rolled into that. And I've kind of more centralized in Utah because it started at donuts and I was like national and I was kind of worldwide and I was searching out just donuts. But then I thought, what could I do? And part of what happened with COVID is what could I do around me that I could write about in Instagram. And so it became all desserts. I kept my name and I kept the focus still on donuts, but for the most part, it's just all about desserts and sugar. And there are just so many good shops here in Utah. So
It's our vice in Utah, right?
yeah, not a lot of alcohol consumption for at least 50% of the population. So they've got to get their highs or their fixes with sugar.
Yeah. So I'm a sportsaholic. I just play any sport that anybody will let me play. And so you would think I would be like a skinny pretzel, but because of desserts, I keep my figure nice and round. So
see, we look like the people that could say we're donut critics, but looking at you, like I don't think you eat a lot of donuts.
So this is a funny thing no, I do eat. I eat probably on average of at least one donut a day. I mean, most of the time it's because on the weekend I'll eat like 3 a day or something. Like yesterday I ate 2 donuts and I've already eaten 2 today. But a lot of it is like prioritization. And so if I know I'm going to go get donuts or I know I'm going to go get a dessert, I'll cut back on breakfast or I'll cut back on lunch and just use that as like the priority. I once heard some dietitian, and it's probably not even like good advice, but like 4 or 5 years ago, they said, if you want to maintain your weight or be healthy, eat dessert first. Because if you fill up on dessert and what you really want, then you're filling up less on, like the carbs or other things that you don't care to really eat, but like you're doing it to just fill up.
Yeah. That's smart.
Yeah. So I've told my kids, like let's try to figure out the things you like. I mean, obviously stick to healthy stuff, but I'm not the parent that fills up the kid's plate and then lets them eat dessert. It's like, okay, let's like make a negotiation. Like if you really do want this dessert, like let's try to like finagle it with what you have on your plate. So I just feel like there is a connection between exercise and dessert consumption, and especially weightlifting. So if you like look into the weightlifting world or realm, there's a lot of people that wear like donut themed things. And I think that there's just let's work hard and we'll play hard, or work hard and eat hard. I feel like that's a big thing. And so people that have come to our Utah Dough Show, the donut show, a lot of them are very fit and exercise savvy just because it's a mentality of, I can reward myself, or it's an incentive to eat these donuts because I work really hard. If you've ever heard of Jeff Lader, he's a huge fitness buff and he's done competitions. And one of his favorite things to do is eat donuts. And if you read his account and blog and whatnot, it all just is about incentivizing and balancing and, working really hard and not doing a lot of these fad diets. It's like, you can still eat donuts and still look good and, be healthy, but
gotta find that balance.
Just don't eat the whole box of donuts is what you're saying.
And then go sit on the couch while eating them.
Yes. And a lot of like testing donuts and eating desserts is not eating all of the desserts, because I feel like sometimes when you're eating something and it's like, okay, this isn't that good, you should just really stop. And that's why I like to get a dozen donuts with a ton of flavors, because then you're just eating little bits and pieces and you're like figuring out which one you like. And if you don't like all of them, it's trash. But
that's smart. I think I need to adopt that a little bit better. So I'm like, this isn't that good. And yet I finished the whole thing.
I'm not going to walk all the way over the garbage can. Let's just finish it here.
Yeah.
What would you guys say is your favorite place to get? It doesn't have to be donuts, I guess. What would you say your favorite dessert place in Salt Lake area is?
Dessert place? I know which donut is my favorite, and it's been my favorite since high school. It's now Dumper Donuts. It was Salt Lake City Donuts, but it's now Dumper Donuts, the chocolate cake donut.
Sure.
That's by far
Classic.
my favorite.
Yeah, it is a classic.
I love all donuts, honestly. One I've seen you post about is the Actually, I went back and saw your first post on this Instagram page, and you compared Banbury, is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Banbury Cross and the Fresh Donuts and Deli. And
Oh
that
my
Fresh
gosh.
Donuts and Deli donut is so good.
Yes. Yes. So Fresh Donut Deli, I would say, is probably my top shop in Salt Lake. I think it's just consistent. It's traditional. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that glazed donut is so awesome. Yeah, I don't know if I've found a glazed donut that's better than that one. I mean, I sometimes think Lehigh Bakery, if you've had Lehigh Bakery, but I feel like consistently it's Fresh Donut and Deli for me.
And that place is always busy in the morning. Like I used to
Yeah.
work by there, and I think, oh, I'll go get donuts for everybody in the office. And of course, that's, a couple minutes before I'm supposed to be there. So not really planning. And the line is just out the door every
Yeah.
time. So that's when you really you kind of have to strategize to get there to get the good warm
Yeah.
glazed donut.
And I think a lot of people have not tried Fresh Donut and Deli. I mean, those that know donuts and that love donuts, they have tried it and they love it. I think a lot of people just haven't tried it, and maybe it just has to do with like the area, the 27 South and State, that it's not downtown or it's not in a suburban area. It's kind of in like an interesting area. Maybe you wouldn't know about it if you didn't work really closely, or if you weren't like tied into donut people that have been
Mm-hmm.
talking about it. That's the thing, is it's not in like a super well-known place, unless you know Winchell's, because it used to be one of those old Winchell.
Oh,
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense, huh? That's what it kind of looks
yeah.
like.
I
Yep.
didn't think about that.
If you've ever seen Donut King, it explains a lot of that. So Donut King is a series, not a series. I think it's just one episode or one main thing on Hulu. Anyways, it goes over a story in California of this guy that came in, and he just basically helped all these immigrants start these donut shops, and he became known as the Donut King. And so it kind of explains why there are so many Asian run donut shops in California, if you've been there. But
Yeah.
it kind of reminded me and drove me to think of Fresh Donut and Deli. It's Asian owned. It used to be a Winchell's. It's got almost like the same history. And I feel like they just know how to do it, and they've done so well with it. It's just, it's not this big and flashy spot. It's just, this standard donut that's so good.
It's really unassuming, the place.
I recommend watching Donut King if you haven't seen it, though.
I've got to ask, one of my favorite places went away because I think the lady had some health problems, but did you ever try Create Donut in Sandy?
I did. And I'm glad that we have Duck Donuts, because I was so sad when they went away. I was thinking it's genius to have a donut place where you can customize
Mm-hmm.
and take this plain base and put whatever topping on it. And when they went away, I was pretty scared. But then, like, we had Mountain Donuts, if you've had it, up in Ogden. They came in. They're really similar to what Duck Donuts is. You fresh order them, and then they dip them and top them right in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing about Create though that I didn't think they were doing that well was the base. I felt they cooked them in the morning and they didn't really stay well. And so most people, when they wanted a dessert type like that at night, they were a little bit stale. And I think that that's like the crux of what really got them. If they were making donuts throughout and they had hot donuts like Duck Donuts, when she announced that she was closing, I didn't get there in time enough to buy it, but I actually wanted to buy it because I thought it was such a cool concept, and it just needed a little bit of tinkering to make it successful.
So you kind of maybe already answered this question with that story, but if you were to open up your own donut shop, what would you do?
So I've thought about this. I just having a pulse on it. I think one thing that needs to be here, we need crullers. Have you guys ever had like a really good cruller?
Love crullers.
So Utah doesn't have very many. They don't have very many crullers. They're like the more eggy base. They kind of almost taste like a crepe in a donut form, I guess. And I feel like that is a taste and a flavor profile that like Utah just hasn't had, and it I think it would go really popular. If you've been to New York, there's one called Daily Provisions, and they do such a good job with their flavors, and they're crispy but like soft on the inside. So that's one thing I would definitely do differently is like lean into the cruller rather than the raised or the cake donut. Somebody could do a cruller shop, which would be like crullers and coffee. That would be like one idea. But if I was to go into a shop that does traditional cake and raised donuts, I would lean more on like fresh fruit and like better toppings. Like you go into a lot of these shops and they have like the cereals, they have like the maples and the regular glazes, and there aren't a ton that do really fresh fruits. And those that are doing fresh fruit and really fresh toppings are successful. So if you've ever tried Chubby Baker, she is very successful because her flavors are super fresh. Everything that she does topping wise is in-house made and really fresh. Or even Mountain Donuts, same thing. Like you go up there and you get a hot fresh donut, it's dipped in frosting, and then she tops it with fresh fruit. It's one of the best donuts you'll have just because it's a composed dessert. So instead of it just being this donut that's been sitting in the case for 3 or 4 hours, it's these composed desserts that up level and just make you want to keep going back for more. So
That's a great thing about donuts is you just have so many different ways you can go with them. It's a very versatile dessert.
But one thing you've kind
no,
of
you're
brought up.
speaking my language.
It's one thing and problem I have with donuts, and you kind of brought it up a little bit, is that they have to be fresh, right? If you go buy donuts and you buy them in the morning and you eat them at night, it's a completely different experience. But is there a donut out there that you think that kind of holds up over a day or two that taste okay?
Well, that's funny you say that, and funny we were talking about fresh donut and deli, because I love fresh donut and deli when they're fresh. But if I'm ever going up the canyon or camping, I always grab fresh donut and deli because they are the best donut next day or even on day 3. Just the way that, or the oils that they have, they just stay so fresh and spongy. And I would say like those are hands down the best that are next day. There are a few that are really good too. So Banbury Cross, they have that cinnamon creme donut, and that one is super good the next day too because it's encased completely with the cinnamon and sugar, and so the inside stays pretty fresh. And then when you eat it too, the crunch of the outside kind of masks maybe some of the staleness for it sitting a day or so. So those are definitely like my go-tos for the next day.
I could still throw a Dunford chocolate cake
I
donut
think that's part of the
in the
reason.
microwave every couple of days. It's still
Well, I think because
still
of
okay.
that hard frosting, it kind of seals the cake portion of the donut. But
no, so when I was like 14 or 15, I worked at a gas station up in like small town, and some of the only donuts there were the chocolate from Dunford. And same thing, like you could eat them like on day 2 and they were just still so good. And I think it is because that frosting keeps it fresh on the inside.
yeah, that was my thing in high school. On the way home, I would stop by a gas station and grab like a pint of chocolate milk and a Dunford donut. That was my thing. But
isn't it like, don't you wish you could do that on a daily basis like now and not just gain like 400 pounds?
oh, absolutely. Yeah.
That's the problem. We still try to do these things and we gain the weight. So,
but now I can afford more than one
Yeah.
donut. So the problem is I buy more than one.
yeah, you really make up for it.
Yeah.
Your page still holds true to the Donut Critic, but you still do so much more than that. Like I know you're a big fan of tacos as well and other desserts. What are some of the other things you really enjoy covering?
I definitely lean on the donut side, and I'm starting to get more into cake. Growing up, I was never like a huge cake fan. Like I just, but this is like the thing too, is I feel like a lot of people, they gain these opinions when they're younger based on what they're fed at home or maybe what's available. And sometimes you think, oh, I don't like that type of dessert, or I don't like that because you didn't like it when you were younger. But I'm convinced that most of the time it's because you're being either fed or you became used to something that probably wasn't that good. And I'll be completely honest, like there were a lot of things that I would say I was not a fan of, and cake was one. I just always felt like it was like the super sugary, like over the top. It was never like a good balanced dessert. But then I started getting into these like specialty cakes and like really finding out like what I wanted. And like I figured out it's like, oh, there are a ton of good cakes out there. You know, a lot of good places that do it too. Like the chocolate does a really good job. Like Chubby Baker's doing a ton of cakes right now that are just so delicious. And I feel like it's the difference on the quality and like the preference. And sometimes you just like figure something out when you're younger and like you just think that it's not good. Another one is like ice cream too. Like I grew up, you know, just like on standard ice cream, and I always thought, I like ice cream, but I don't love it. And then you start going into those specialty shops like Brooker's and Rockwell and JJ's Ice Cream and all these other places that are doing so many cool things with ice cream, or like just making it completely delicious and creamy. And then it's like, oh, no, I really do love ice cream. I just have to be more particular about it. I'm not going to go and just get the grocery store ice cream, or I'm not going to eat
Big
one of those
quantity
like,
Western family.
yeah, like, or like the squished, you know, ice cream sandwich bars. It's like, oh, you get a Fat Boy that's like this big, super fresh. That's super good. So
One thing you've kind of established yourself as this sugar expert in a way. People can look to you as the authority on things. And you mentioned to us that are you organizing the event, or are you just a big part of the sugar high that's coming up in October?
So I'm like an organizer, and I'm doing it along with Donuts and Plug and his wife Heather. So they are the owners and organizers of the Utah Dough Show that happens in the spring. In that show, we usually have about 25 donut vendors specifically, and then there's like some drink and other type of vendors that kind of join in. And they usually get about 1,000 attendees, and that's capped at that much just because it's a sampling event, and we want to make sure that everybody gets a donut sample. And we're structuring the sugar high in a similar way. And so after the dough show, they kind of like woke up and they're thinking, well, we don't need to just do a show for donuts. We can do one for all types of desserts. And they reached out to me, and of course I was up for it because I think Utah's needed this for so long. I feel like a lot of these dessert shops don't get the recognition and don't get the ability to showcase what they do. And so I'm pretty excited to put all that together. We're capping our attendees at 2,000 for kind of the same reason. We're doing a tasting event, and we want to make sure that everyone has the ability to taste most of the booths. We're upping the booths and capping those at 60, and so it's just those. It's an intimate experience more so than anything else. And it's a good experience because, you know, when you go there, you're among all of these other dessert fans. Like when you go to these expos or other big shows, you have all these people that are just wandering around, and they just like got tickets like on a whim because they're like, I'm going to go and see the gun show or whatever else like type of expo. And so you kind of have like a mixed bag of who goes and who is exhibiting. Whereas like we wanted to be really specific and say only dessert vendors, and we're capping it at 60. So we're not just like blowing it out. And then 2,000 is like what we can control and really make a good experience for. So we're capping it at that. So yeah, we're really excited about it.
It looks like that's on October 16th at the Mountain America Expo Center.
Yep. Yeah, we're curious to see how this kind of plays out. I mean, we're used to outdoor events and outdoor centers, and so we're hoping it's a good experience for everybody. We're liking that it's a blank slate for us. We have a lot of activation areas and fun dessert things. I mean, if you go into our dessert show, we want you to be able to have Instagram worthy areas or Instagram worthy like big pieces of donut art or dessert art everywhere you go. Like not everywhere I would say, but like to the point where like that's you can feel that you're in this wonderland of desserts. And I think we're achieving that at this point.
So how can people, I mean, this is something I'm sure that's going to be heavy in demand. A lot of people want to go, but if people are interested, how can they get tickets or watch out for that?
So we are releasing tickets mid-September. So we haven't set the date as of yet. We're going to be announcing when tickets go on sale in probably about 4 or 5 days. But you can count on mid-September. We have just a little form on our website to leave your email, because that will kind of give you the first indication. Plus, the morning of, we will send out an email and kind of do as a reminder. So one thing to know, on the Dough Show with 1,000 people, we sold out, I think, in 5 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Maybe 10 minutes on the general admission. Yeah, it was insane. We had VIP, I think, sold out in 5, and then GA tickets sold out in 10 minutes. We're expecting the same. Like, we've had a really good response. We have a lot of people that are just geared and ready to go, and we have a good lineup. I've already announced like 4 or 5 different vendors for the sugar show, and a lot of them are big. I mean, they're Chubby Baker. She's one of the top donut shops. Doki Doki, if you've ever been to hers, she's one of the top Asian stops. Like, she has like the taiyaki and like the fluffy pancakes and crepes and whatnot. They're just amazing. Sue's Cookies, she's down in Provo and in Midway, and she does an awesome job with cookies. We just announced Dough Lady, which is cinnamon rolls. If you've seen a lot of those, like, she has some funky flavors like apple cinnamon. She has like blueberry lemon, raspberry lemon, regular. I'm pretty excited about Dough Lady as well. So more to come. Like, I don't want to like release anything or talk about any that I haven't announced yet, though.
So if you want, that sounds like something you'd be interested in. Make sure you subscribe and put your email in so you can get the info just as it comes out. So I'm going to keep my phone close.
Sugar High Events. Yeah, it's at sugarhighevents.com, and you can add your email there. My plug for desserts and for shops is, obviously support local. Local definitely keeps everything going, and it just helps your community. But I also just think, work hard and play hard. And that's part of my mantra with desserts and with donuts is, you can eat a lot of awesome desserts, and you can go and find a lot of cool shops, but you can still pay for it and sweat and exercise and whatnot. Like, I feel like a lot of people that get into like the diet mode just completely kill that and don't enjoy life. And I feel like you can do both. I feel like you can, have a good treat and incentivize yourself and still eat really well. So that's my main plug that I would say.
Well, thanks for being on. Really hope we can get to that sugar high. And even if not this year, I'm sure it's just going to keep growing as you see the interest in it, as well with the other events that are going on. But
yeah, and we haven't announced this yet, so like you can have this as an announcement, but you can look forward to a taco festival next year. Like, we're going to do a taco festival.
You can do that around May.
No, well, that's the plan. Is like we'll probably do like spring or right before summer, which maybe is around Cinco de Mayo. So we're trying to figure that out, the dates and whatnot. But a taco festival just was the next thing that we easily put in our minds, and I was like, yeah, 100%. So
I have to ask them, what's your favorite taco?
So I'm really, really hot on birria tacos right now. I feel like you can, like, the dip and everything just makes it hot and fresh and good. I like other tacos, like street tacos are great. If you've been to Rock Taco, those are good. They're like fusion tacos. Smoked tacos good too, because they have like the crispy cheese and some interesting flavors. That one's just new in American Fork.
Is it just a food truck?
it was a food truck. The first location just opened last Friday,
Oh,
and
cool.
I went 2 days ago, and it was bangering. It was awesome. I feel like they do things fresher and better within the store than in the food truck, so I would recommend that one.
Yeah. We'll have to
But as
check that
for
one
like
out.
birria, I would say La Casa del Tamal is still one of my favorites.
I've seen that one a couple
And then,
times.
yep, I just went there last night and that was really good. And then there's a place in Sandy in that Union Square, the
Mhm.
old school square. It's called El Barril, and they have some really awesome mulas, which is basically like birria taco stacked on, and then they have like the consomme that you can dip. Santo tacos. Have you guys ever
Mhm.
had Santo tacos?
That was one of
They're
our
pretty good.
earlier episodes with Santo Taco.
Los Tapatios is pretty good. I wish their consomme was better. And then if you're ever down in Provo, Red Tacos is one of my favorites too.
You made another post with like the Al Pastor, like the
Yeah.
big
Oh, yes.
tower. Those things. Anything that has that, you're in for some delicious tacos.
Yeah, that's down. That one locally is down in Orem at Holy Taco. Yeah, anything that's cut fresh like that is so good. But I still think my favorite Al Pastor is up in Salt Lake in the little Latino mall, El Morelense.
Huh.
It's just this little shop that's kind of in like the atrium area of the Latino mall. It's probably like 2200 South and Redwood around there.
Yeah.
2300 South maybe. That had the best Al Pastor I've ever had. So
Sugar High tacos next year. We got some really good things to look forward to. We appreciate you sharing with us and keep with the great content. Just scroll through. This is just for anybody listening. Follow Donut Critic on Instagram because you are in for just like a nice scroll, a very appetizing scroll.
I thought you could say you're in for a treat.
You're
Pun intended.
pun intended. Yeah, exactly.
That too.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I love talking about desserts. I love talking about like what I do and shops and whatnot. So thank you guys.
Benjamin, for coming on and making me want a donut really bad right now and some tacos for some reason. Never thought tacos and donuts would go together, but it sounds really good right now.
What if you had a taco donut? Like you put taco stuff inside 2 donuts.
That's a good question.
Probably wouldn't be very good.
Speaking of burgers.
Have you had a burger donut?
Yeah. Have you had the maple donut with the brat at BYU football games? What do they call it? What do they call it?
What is that?
Oh, shoot. We will know in a couple of weeks when the season starts up, but...
Oh my gosh,
So
I didn't even know that existed.
They take half of a
They take a
cougar tail, and they put a bratwurst in the middle.
Oh my
Brat tail? No,
gosh.
cougar tail? No, the cougar tail is the donut. But what do they call the...
I can't believe I've never had
It's
this
so
before.
good.
Oh, it sounds...
You got the sweet and the... Oh, it's so good.
Sounds amazing.
But
Full review to come soon.
But as a kid, one of the cakes we would get for our birthdays was a cake that looked like a hamburger. And I just noticed, and my sister actually sent a picture to our little group family text messaging thing that Target has the cakes back. Like you can buy it at Target again. So it looks looks like a hamburger, but it's a cake.
I love those. My grandfather used to work at Macy's Grocery. Yeah, those are awesome. He used to work there and was there during a BYU Utah football game, and they had a big tailgating party of some sort, and they had a bunch of donuts made to look like hot dogs.
There you go. Yeah.
They were really good. I think I like when foods look like something but are something else.
Well, desserts, when they look like real food, so that you feel less guilty eating them.
Like, have you seen those cake videos where it looks like a Coke bottle?
Oh, yeah, those are cool.
I want to eat those so bad.
Yeah. One of our friends, she's really good at making cakes like that. So
Really?
She did a lot of our kids' birthdays, and it's pretty impressive what she could come up with and do. So I don't have that talent. I can't even make just a basic Betty Crocker cake look appealing to eat, but
Does it taste good, though?
that's all that matters to
That's
me.
all that matters.
That's all that matters. But anyways, my two thoughts before we end is, number one, I was just looking on the internet and I need somebody to help me back this up. But I swear Charles Barkley used to say, or has said in the past, that when something's not good...
Stop. In the voice.
I'm getting there. Jeez. But he used to be like, that was terrible. That's like day old Krispy Kremes. This is terrible. So anything something's bad, but I was trying to Google it and I can't find any transcripts of him saying that. So I need somebody out there, one of our 10 listeners, or what are we up to now? 14?
I think we're at 19.
Yeah, 19 listeners. Had a couple of people the other day say they wanted to be the next listener, so maybe we're up to 20 now. I'll have to ask if they listened. So I want to know if he's ever said that's terrible, like day old Krispy Kremes. So
I like the phrase, so I hope
terrible. So I've been using that phrase for like 15 years now, I feel like. So I might have been like making up my own quotes for Charles Barkley, but it's
like a
works.
Mandela effect thing.
It still works, because I mean, just like we talked with Benjamin, that sometimes donuts just don't taste the best after they're a day old. Especially Krispy Kreme. Krispy Kreme, you almost have like an hour window, in my opinion.
Really?
Before.
They're
still good.
I still throw them in their microwave, and they're still good.
That's true, but
I got Duck Donuts this week, and we got a full dozen, and I ate most of them pretty quickly. But then the next day, I tried to eat one, and it was no good.
So I've had a lot of people, and now we're going way past on tangents, but a lot of people talk to me about how they love Reams donuts, and I think they're okay, but those ones are especially, like, if you don't eat them within an hour or two of them making them, they go really stale, in my opinion. But everyone's talking. So last night, somebody was actually talking, and I wasn't even mentioning it about the podcast, but it came up in our conversation that they said the Reams on 47th and 215 that just shut down, that they had the best baker, and those donuts were really good. So not the one on 62 in Bangor, but the one over there. But they believe that baker is now over at 90th Reams. So, like, because multiple people have said they think Reams are some of the best.
I used to think that too. They're maple with the cream rather than the glaze. It's really good.
It's good. And usually after 7 o'clock at night, I don't know if they still do it, but 25 cents a donut or something like that. So good place to go take the kids, or to get a box of donuts for really cheap. But the last item is that I was talking to a police officer the other day, and I just Googled it to see if it were true or not. But you know how donuts and police officers kind of go hand in hand, right?
It's always the joke.
It's always a joke. So turns out part of the reason why is, like, back in the 50s, there wasn't a lot of places that were open past midnight, and police officers had to work 24/7, so they would go hang out at the donut shop. And one cop told me recently that part of the reason they hung at the donut shop because that's where all the people knew that's where they would be. So if they needed to call a cop, they would call the donut shop to have the cops go out on a call, basically. So it's not necessarily that they love donuts, but it was just the place that was open. So correct me if I'm wrong on that, and or terrible.
I used to want to be a police officer just so I could have donuts all the time.
That came with the job.
My dad had a police friend, and they made a joke one time. My dad pulled up to the donut shop, and his police friend had his lights on and was acting like he was pulling him over. And he got out of the car and, like, get my dad. And I was like, fine, man, I'll buy you a donut. And they went into the donut place, and everybody's like, what the heck just happened?
Oh, so it was kind of a...
It was like a joke.
It was a joke.
Yeah, because they were going to get donuts anyway, so that's what he said. And then they went and bought donuts. And we got plenty of places. You've got all the places now to visit to find some delicious donuts here in Utah, if you didn't already have any.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say I don't enjoy one of the big chains from time to time.
For me, though, like Dunkin' Donuts, I never really understood the appeal of Dunkin' Donuts. Like, I'll obviously eat one, but
I don't think anybody in Utah did because they're all gone now.
Yeah, they kind of popped up really quick and went away. Terrible. It's just terrible. Like Krispy Kreme, day old Krispy Kremes. Okay, well, I'm going to go get a donut.
Thanks for listening to This Is a Place podcast.
See you next week.